Hello everyone, my name is Rita and I am the growing coordinator at Seeds for Growth, and I'm here this morning to make some moss balls with you all. It's basically loose on a Japanese moss ball planter, and I've got some examples to show you right now. This is number one. And here is number two. So today, to make these, what we need are some equipment. And I'll show you what that is. You are going to need some air dry clay, some moss, now this moss is really good. You can get natural moss, but it takes a little while to collect it all. And this moss is air dried, so it comes flat packed like this, and it's from a company, if you can see that. This company delivers, they're family owned, small business, and they're online and very reasonably priced. Now, you're also going to need some string or any kind of twine, wire, shoelaces, plastic bags if you want to twine it up, crochet, you know, if you make crochet long strings, anything that can bind. Pair of scissors, some water, not sure how much, maybe about 2 pints, and a couple of containers, couple of plastic containers. These ones are for your water and one for the moss. Some soil, any multi-purpose will do. Or if you've got any old soil from old plants and they've died and you've got all the pots with the soil in, you can use that. Now, to start off with, you're going to need to rehydrate the dehydrated moss. So you pop that. I'm going to do this in real time. So first thing first, dehydrate it. So you start off with putting a little bit of water into the bowl. And she'll float for a while. And then I'll just leave her to one side. So remember what she looks like. She's floating. Now, for the clay, for these balls, we're going to be making them out of about a quarter of the amount of clay. So we have our clay here. And this is the amount I took out. So it's about a quarter that's missing from the pack. So by using a quarter, you get about a medium-sized ball. And if you go for half, then you would get the bigger size balls. If you want to be a bit more adventurous, you can use the whole ball, the whole packet, but you'd have to take a lot more time to press it out and squeeze it through. Now, first thing first, I've got my ball already squeezed, and then I'm going to need some water for my hands. Now, having water nearby really helps when dealing with the clay, because the clay itself, because it's air dry and you're warm, it will start to dry quite quickly. So the idea is fingers only, not the palms of your hands wet. To wet the palm of your hands, use your fingers. So with fingers in and just the palms. You don't want soaking wet hands, but you do want wet enough hands to manipulate the clay. So I'll just keep that nearby. And every now and again, you'll see me dipping. So I've manipulated my clay. Just give it a good squeeze. And after it's been squashed a few times, it should become quite soft. I like to keep my clay inside the house so that it stays at room temperature. It's just easier to deal with whenever I need to use it. Air dry clay is amazing stuff. Great for children, great for any kind of gifts that you want to make, and just general fun. Then you got to make it into a ball. And to do that, usually I cup my hands like that when I'm rolling. Try not to have my hands too flat. So my fingers then create the shape. Like that. So you go round into a ball. And as you feel, when the clay starts to feel like it's grabbing your hands, that's when you have to wet your hands again. So fingertips only. Right. Now I've got my clay into kind of a ball shape, more of an egg. And I'm going to, making sure my palms are wet so it doesn't stick in there, I'm going to use 2 fingers and press inside, just like that. And then wiggle. Just to start to create my lip. So you've got a little dent. There we go. Oh, I'm getting a hang of the direction. So once you've got that little dent, then you're going to be pinching your fingers. So you're drawing up the clay from down the base. Because the base is quite heavy and your sides are quite weak. So, wet fingers again. I'm going to go in with my thumb on top, 2 fingers inside, and I'm just going to have it in the palm of my hand and squeeze my thumb and finger and draw upwards. Not too much, just upwards enough to start widening the hole. If I could show you that way. There we go. So we're just widening the hole and use my fingers. Don't worry if it slips a little bit like it did just now, but because it's clay, it's easy to deal with. And you go all the way around and you keep turning the pot in your hand. That way then you can feel work that you've done all the way around. You're not just working one side. So every time you squeeze and pinch, you turn the pot. Now at this point, what I like to do is, because I like to have them on the tables, and I think they're really nice centerpieces, I wet the bottom just a little bit so it doesn't stick to my table. And then I still using my clippy fingers, my duck bill, I like to call it, and I draw upwards. If you want to, you can use all of your hands. Just making sure that you use the other hand as a bowl shape, as a crest, so that you're keeping it into shape. And you can feel how thick it is. Now, when it comes down to the bottom of the base, what I like to use is my thumb. And my thumb will then press down and draw upwards. So a lot of the clay will go inside your fingernail. And if you don't like that feeling, wear some of those surgical gloves. That's quite cool. Because then you can still feel what you're doing with the surgical gloves. Now, once my pot has been drawn upwards, it doesn't really matter if I've got any cracks. Because what I like to do is use a bit of water. Place it in the area. And just fold it over in a pleat. Because this part you won't see because of the moss. The moss covers a lot of sins. So as you draw up, you've got your pot shape. Making sure that she's not stuck to the base all the time. You keep drawing it up. Any holes, you just pull the clay together. Make a pleat. Add a little bit of water so it becomes like a glue. You see that there? Got that pleat there. And I'm just going to use my wet finger to smooth over that hole. There we go. Doesn't really matter because we're playing. Oh, that was a bit of a one. Welcome back. Oh, welcome back. Sorry about that. A little bit of a technical hitch while I was making the pot. So, coming back, we've got our pot. I'm not sure how much of that you heard. So I'll just go back a little bit. So I was saying if there's any cracks in the holes, and then all you have to do is squeeze any cracks, fold it, and then use a little bit of water. Start a little bit of water to stick it into place. And then once it's stuck into place, then you've got a decent enough space. And it doesn't really matter if there's any holes because the moss will hide everything. So just take your time with this part. I've become quite professional at making these kind of little pinch pots, even though they're quite ugly still. But doing this, you might have to scrunch it out and start again. So if you start doing it the first time around, you make your ball, you put your hole, you make your hole, and it's not deep enough, it's not wide, the sides are too fat, the sides are too thin. Just start again. It's clay. Just wet your hands, start again. Don't panic. A bit like me with the disconnection. So we got the pot. The pot's been made. As I said, if you want to put some holes in at the bottom, you can now, but I would say wait until after. Once you've got to this stage, then you need to be putting in your soil. Now, all you need is a little bit of soil. to begin with, because it depends on the size of your plant. And I always suggest that you buy plants that are going to stay small or tall, but either which way, they've got a short root ball. Their roots won't grow that deep. They don't need to go that deep. So any kind of plant at the moment, you've got loads of little plants out there like violas and pansies and things. You know, even strawberries you could put in here, because strawberries have a very short root ball, and then all the babies, the runners, will grow and fall out the sides, which is quite beautiful. So I've gone for a little bit of soil now. I've only got sort of covered the base and a little bit of soil, because the plants I'm going to be using, my favorite winter plants is the cyclamen. They not only last for winter, that's the beauty of the cyclamen. They do go on into spring, and they still give you color as long as you deadhead. So if you've got cyclamens and the flowers are here, take off the flower heads so that the young can start to flourish and bloom. And the more that you deadhead, the more buds you get. So that's a different lesson. So I'm going to just wiggle out one of these cyclamens. I'll go for the one with the flower on it. Now, at the moment, she's in a nice compact shape, square. And obviously, I've got a circle. Now, the idea is that you tickle away all the soil from the roots of this plant, because you just want the roots inside your ball, really. So I just tickle it through. If I get a bit closer, I just use my fingertips, going all the way around, just gently teasing out roots. Doesn't matter if I break any, you know. She's a plant. She doesn't mind growing new roots, as long as I don't break too many of them, of course. And once I've gone down as deep as I think I want to go, taking off any dead and debris leaves at the bottom. I will then put her inside the pot, just like that. Okay. And using all the soil that I've just sort of taken off, I'll put that back around inside. So I like to go from the top and the bottom, adding my extra soil as well. On the sides, and then using my two fingers, I'll go in either side and just push down the soil around the outsides of the pot that you've just made. So now she's in. She's in and she's looking good. Now, clearing away the little bit of mess that I've just made is always a good idea, but you don't have to, but it's always nice, you know. You don't really want to get the moss all muddy. So, just wipe off my hands. At this stage, now what you need is your water to wet the sides. And also some kind of pencil, pen, scissors to just score your pot. Just score it a little bit. Don't dig in. So just wet the pot. And just score it. Like you would pastry. And you want to make a pattern, or on bread. So you just score that. This helps to stick the moss on for the next stage. It's not only the string that keeps it there, so you'll see in a minute. If I just pop that down so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. So I've scored her all the way around, made some indentations. Wipe off my hands. And now this is the best bit. Look at that. Look at that moss. Remember? She was as flat as that. Now she's made all of this. She's amazing. I love it. It's like science. This is the best thing to work with children. It's instant gratification. I only just put this in the water. I've got a whole bowl of this stuff. So now I just got to use it and show you how this works. So I pull bits apart. And what I need to do is have my pot in the middle, and then I will put some of my moss around the outside edge. So all the way around in a circle. Do not be stingy. You know, don't be stingy. I mean, if you're going to do this, make sure it's nice and luscious. Full. You can add bits on after or take bits off if you've gone too overzealous. So I'm going to start with that for now. So I've gone round in a circle. And the idea is I bunch up and scrunch up. Okay? So it's a bunch and a scrunch. And turn her around. Buncher, scruncher. Squeeze. Really squeeze. And on this side, I bunch her and scrunch her. Now I'm going to use my fingers just to sort of mold around the top. If I get in a little bit closer so you can see. And I will mold around the top here. And just keep going around like that. So now at this point, I won't be looking at anybody on screen. So I'm just going to bunch my girls. Squeezing as I go. Having a look at what I'm doing as I go. Using my thumb to make sure that it tightens up around the top. So I'm using my thumb like that all the time, going round. Just close to the edge of the top. Now I'm going to go a little bit more. Since I've got all this beautiful moss. Tiny bit more, not too much. And then get that up. And again, using your fingers from the knee, you scoop and you bunch, scrunch. Now, if you wanted this to be a circle, there must be other ways of doing it. But the way that I kind of do it is to add more in the center at the base and then pack it around and put it on its side. But it takes a lot of skill and time to do it. And sometimes I don't have enough time, but I just want it done. I just want to have the fun. So I'll take off bits I don't need that just don't want to stay. If it doesn't want to stay, take it away. Now, we've done all this to the top, but our bottom still looks like this. Again, a little bit of water. I'm using my nails to score the bottom. And then I take a little bit of this moss and just put it onto the table. And then holding it, I push it down and collect all the moss that I've just put down and everything else that's tried to escape. So I'm cleaning the table of moss. Really pat it down. That's it. And then let me check first before I show you. Yep. Yeah. So now we've got a mossy bottom. And as I was saying about the circular, if you wanted it circular, you add more moss here and then build up. And then you put it on its side, you know, and mold it into a circle. But as I said, I like that instant effect. Right. Now we've got to this stage. She is holding in place. but we want to decorate her and we want it to stay together, all that moss to just stay there, because as it dries, it will just fall away. At the moment, it's nice and moist and it's holding on to the moist clay and it's holding on to everything, but you want it to stay in place, in wind, if you're going to leave it outside, or just for prettiness, you know, after covering all the clay. It's an added layer of decoration. So I've got some string. And what I've done is cut the string quite long. So it's about 1 meter, I think. That's what they say, sort of how they used to measure material, about 1 meter, or was it 1/2 meter? So, and I always start in the middle. So if you're really good with knots, at this point, this is where you can really show off with all your knots. If you're good at making really decorative knots, macrame, is it? So I go around the center and I make a normal knot. If I just show it to camera. Just a normal standard knot, and I pull quite tight, and then I will just twist and go back round. And what I try to do is sort of go round in a pattern, almost try my best to make the best pattern I can make. Not very good with my knots, and I could be better, but hey ho. Twist, and I go round, I go down the bottom, I make another knot, pull in, go round the base, and once I get to the end of my strings, once I'm at the main end of my string, I will then definitely double knot that off here. And I'll leave them in place for now, because I might need them later if I need to tie up extra. So I've got my first layer of string on, and then I'm going to go for my next layer. And again, starting in the middle, this one's slightly shorter. I'll go at some kind of angle, I think, like that. Not too high up so it squashes my plant. Just around the center. And then this time, the second one, I will go around the base and then come round. Go around the base. And as I said, these little loose ones that I left behind, I'm going to use that one to tie off the one prior so it stays in place. Because if it doesn't reach, then I just use each one of these strings to make sure that they reach. Like that. So that's the end of my last knot, this little short one that I left behind, and that's the end of the string that I just used. Now, it's really up to you how many times you go round. You can go round as many times as you like. For this demonstration, I'm just going to go round twice. But when you leave, I will go round a few more times. Any excess strings hanging, I like to try and tie them together if they're close by. And any that I can't tie, I will trim away. Making sure I don't cut the strings I've already tied. Gentle, gentle. There we go. So, after going round a few more times, the strings start to look really, really decorative. The more strings, the better the pattern. But if you're really good at making macrame hangers and you're good with knots or crochet, you know, you can add things like flowers to the inside of your strings. Or if it's a birthday party or something, the number of the person. If it's a wedding, even better. You know, these are great table displays for weddings. You know, forget the bunch of flowers. Have these, and then your guests can take the whole living plant home. Cheap as chips. You can make many. So, there we have it. The last thing you have to do is water the plant. And as I said, if you want to put holes in underneath, you can. Especially if you're leaving them outside so the water can drain away. But what I like to do is keep them inside. If I'm going to keep one inside, I don't put holes in underneath. I just don't water it that much. Tiny bit of water, leave it alone. And there we have it. We've got our moss planters. All there, ready for us. It was a pleasure doing these for you. And I hope to come back and do more bits and bobs. See you soon, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.